Definitely coming back very, very solidly off of, I guess for me, the turning point was a big overcommitment off of a dive in the mid lane, able to really show what they had to bring to the table today. And in game number 3, which is where we be, it's going to be swapping things back around to the opposite sides. University of Virginia on the blue in our ban phase against Georgia Tech in the red.
Ooh, we're seeing some ban adjustments here. This is pretty interesting. So these are 2 big comfort picks. Some kid, his most played this season is Ezreal, very high win rate as well. And JC Prestige seems to favor that Jace quite a bit. So seeing those taken off the table just now is a bit interesting to me, but it makes a lot of sense if Georgia Tech is expecting those to be pulled out in this last-ditch effort. So the Ashe is finally taken away from Asian Devil. It'll be good to see him on something else here.
Yeah, and so every game, of course, a little bit different. Of course, halfway through the season, when we get the 5-ban system, things will really, really be shaken up. But great last ban there at the LeBlanc. No one going to be playing that one. And I really love, for me, the respect ban on that, the Ashe for Asian Devil. Just huge power pick in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, when Georgia Tech was rolling last game, a lot of it was off of Asian Devil just lobbing arrows left, right, and center and hitting a good 80-90%. He hit a lot of arrows that game. Unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out for Georgia Tech in the end. But yeah, I love that respect ban as well. Malzahar taken away as the first pick from UVA, and that is a big power pick, a good takeaway from Rice Fox as well. So it looks like we will be seeing Asian Devil potentially on that Jhin or Caitlyn. Not really sure. There are a lot of other ADC options at the moment, so yeah, it will be that Jhin in the end, though.
His Caitlyn in game number 2 did not look as solid as I would have expected for it to be ban-worthy in game number 1. Maybe, like you said, just going off of comfort picks, but at least this time around, going to change it to the Jhin along with Zyra there. So nice to see the Malzahar first picked. Very meta in North American region. We've seen a lot in LCS, and one thing we have not been seeing a lot is this Zac cover from Timmy, so could be really mixing it up in the jungle.
Yeah, this could be something really interesting. He has a very small champion pool, an oddly small champion pool in solo queue this season at the very least. Most played is Elise, in case you couldn't tell from that game 1. Similarly to the Ashe from Asian Devil last game, performed really, really well on it. Wasn't quite enough for the victory in the end, but something he seemed incredibly comfortable on is Zac is his second most played right after that. So with, again, a 60 or so % win rate on this champion, just incredibly comfortable with this. And this is a huge initiation team. This is, again, looking like another pick comp for UVA. I really want to see how they round this out. So that's going to be another Maokai over to Judgment. Man, he is not losing this pick at all.
I mean, and even in game number 2, he just did not look super bad on that Maokai. He was having some crazy good engages. He just didn't have the follow-up behind it. So kind of a low damage on the side of Georgia Tech. But UVA, for them, they've got 2 more picks to kind of ramp them or ramp their damage up. They do have that Varus pick, which has been kind of reshining in the as a utility pick in the AD carry role. Kind of functions a little bit like an Ashe, but then ult that's harder to hit. But that Ahri pick is that is being hovered right now is the big MVP for me. I haven't seen an Ahri do that well in a long time, Blaster Boy, and Last Kaiser really showed up.
He absolutely did. He breathed new life into this very old and somewhat retired for a lot of people Ahri pick. And it looked really great from him. It looks like Is That Him might be going for something a bit new here in the Orianna. And that is locked in incredibly quickly. So now we have, again, a bit of a pick comp from UVA. They want to dive in with that Zac or flash in with the Malz, pick one person out, follow up with the Varus, or really whoever is left. And then Ahri and Fiora can go in and just mop up the entire fight. And they're just going to do incredible amounts of damage if they can get rolling here. On the other side, though, this is a very much tank-centric lineup again for Georgia Tech, this time with a ball delivery system in the form of a Maokai and Rek'Sai as well. there's going to be a lot of damage from this composition as well, and a bit of a beefier front line. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up coming out ahead here, whether it's more carries or more tanks.
Wow. Yeah, so it's going to be about, like you said, the carries versus the tanks. The Fiora adaptation, I really like to see that sticking around just because, I mean, you have to have something to deal with Judgment's Maokai. It's just too strong. The change I actually am interested to see is Sky Sapphire now on the Rek'Sai instead of Timmy, who did actually have a great game with it. I just really am interested to see Timmy on this Zac pick. Always really cool to see players on champions that they're very adept with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like they're kind of trying to continue this sort of comfort pick trend going into this next game. So I'll be interested to see if it can pan out for UVA again, because they had a huge amount, they had quite a lot of success in the last game with this Ari Fiora combo. So can't wait to see it in action again.
Well, we will see them in action after a short commercial break. So in the meantime, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors that make our broadcast of the ULoL Campus Series possible. I just want to shout out Band Gaming. If you've never heard of Band Gaming, you can check them out at band.us. When you head over there, you can find out all about Band. It's basically a social app that you can get from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Put it on your phone, and it kind of helps you socialize with your friends, get groups together, put together calendars, polls. If you watch some of their commercials that we broadcast, it makes it easier to get together, play together, and stay together. So if you want to check that out, once again, band.us. I want to thank them for supporting us this season. You can also join the CSL community if you're interested in staying in touch with our collegiate esports at band.us/@StarLeague. Band.us/@StarLeague. It's a little bit complicated, but you can head over there and yeah, it's a great way to stay in touch with not only your friends, but your friends here at the CSL. And if you're watching us today, you're watching us on twitch.tv. Big thanks to them for coming online with us this season and helping us stream these games to you. They are the largest streaming platform in gaming to support collegiate esports. So we've been partnering with them for a while for things from PAX East to West, and of course a bunch of other CSL events. Definitely wouldn't be what we are today without their help and support. So head on over, show them some love on Twitter and Facebook at Twitch. And of course, last but not least, Asus, our tech provider here. Happy to welcome them back for this season. We basically just get all kinds of awesome stuff from them when it comes to monitors, laptops, routers, graphics cards, motherboards, and more. Big thanks to them for supporting us this season. And of course, make sure to head over and support them by searching for Asus on all your relevant social media. And of course, big shout out to viewers like you for coming out and checking out these games here tonight. So we'll take a quick break before we head into our final game of the night between Georgia Tech and UVA.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ULoL Campus Series games for the Collegiate Star League. It's going to be University of Virginia back on the blue side, taking on Georgia Tech. We're swapping back over to the red, and gotta say, really impressed to see both teams fighting back so hard, taking us into our third game of this deciding best of three. My name is Rapid. With me is Blaster Boy to help break down the action for you guys today. And what was the biggest thing that impressed you in that Game 2 comeback by UVA, Blaster Boy?
I really like their decisiveness when they ended up finding an opening. They punished that big play. They made that big play rather mid with that punishment of Georgia Tech from overextending without their tank, and they took those 4 kills incredibly quickly and immediately took their entire team over to the Baron as a unit, got that objective, and they just took a small little opening and turned it into way more. And they ended up closing that game, again, in spite of some struggles. They kind of dipped a little bit, and it looked kind of shaky. They didn't control the game from the beginning, but they still closed the game 2 minutes faster than Georgia Tech did previously.
Yeah, that's actually just really impressive to me to think that, you know, a team that gets dominated that hard as they did in game number 1 comes back and is just like, oh, wait, no, now we win faster. So really cool to see, and that's going to lead us into our third game. Now, some champions have actually stayed the same here, but of the champions that are different, what do you like about the adaptations here for both sides?
I'm really interested to see this Varus. This is an up-and-coming ADC right now. It's been very popular in the NALCS as well. I can't recall if it's been paired with the Malzahar just about every single time or not, but the CC chain-wise, that is an incredibly powerful lane, and it brings quite a lot of poke and very good damage, a different type of damage, really, than you see from a lot of ADCs at the moment. I can't wait to see how that pans out, because if this pick composition works for UVA, this is going to be extremely explosive if Georgia Tech keeps splitting up.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just dual lane going to be explosive, but of course we still had that Ahri in the mid lane, and even though she's going up against more of a defensive control mage, it's not going to be something that we can really take our eyes off of just because of how strong Last Kaiser's Ahri performance was in game number 2. It's just it's been a while since I've seen an Ahri do that well, so always nice to see some old picks come back.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Last Kaiser made one heck of a case for Ahri's comeback in that last game. He looked incredibly strong, even when he was a little bit slow on some of the roams. Even when he was the second to arrive behind the LeBlanc, he was still delivering damage. He was still able to get in there and really mess with the lineup of Georgia Tech. And I mean, he did that throughout the later parts of the game too. When UVA had a lead, he got multiple picks in some of the fights and started off fights by getting those picks and opened objectives for UVA. He was a huge playmaker and a huge point that we need to be looking at for this game, because if he performs similarly as well, not even exactly equally as well, he's going to be an absolutely massive point of contention, I feel.
Keeping an eye on the way that things are working out across the map. A full jungle clear here for the jungle Zach there. Timmy bringing a new champion to the Rift for this series, and one of the ones that he is very well known for. Against the champion that he played in the last game, Sky Sapphire's Rek'Sai. Now marauding the mid lane, waiting for an opportunity if Ahri does step out of place. So actually get a tunnel in here. Might look for the flash. No, just gets that in there. Does flash forward for the first blood.
Yeah, and that ended up being a pretty risky commitment from Sky Sapphire, but he was confident that he had the damage. What a great gank there, and a little bit slow from Last Kaiser as well. Credit where credit is due to Georgia Tech for that gank for sure, but a little bit odd from Last Kaiser to just instantly flash away from that Rek'Sai during the tunnel animation. Ends up going down for it, and that's what Georgia Tech really needs to do to keep this Ahri contained. They need to be getting these ganks off, because Is That Him simply cannot deal enough damage to this Ahri to really keep her down on his own in this lane, and even being very defensive on this Orianna could still be at risk of going down if the charms are as solid as they were in the last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually didn't expect to see that first blood work out because expecting it to be much more of like a passive start to the game. But no,
Sapphire
Rex
up top.
getting aggressive. Oh, JC Prestige dashed in at the wrong time, flashing out, knowing that Sky Sapphire does not have his own flash, so able to escape alive, but now lower on the HP bar and maybe a little bit afraid of being quite so aggressive.
Yeah, he's definitely trying. He's trying to perform similarly as he did in the last game early on versus Judgment. He got the early lane lead, and he was able to take control of the lane and keep Judgment kind of low on health and keep him down. And that early gank up there. Oh, Rice Fox! Whoa!
Oh my goodness! Lockdown in the middle of all of those Zyra plants. He's taken down to 100 HP.
So much trading on each side. The Malzahar and Zyra looks like they trade pretty similarly in damage overall, and that's pretty impressive, honestly, for any other champion to really be able to match Zyra similarly. What a crazy trade there. That was very close to 1 or 2 deaths. Now Zach gank mid.
Yeah, mid lane.
Beautiful.
Timmy forced to flash away immediately. That was a good gank, but I mean, against a level 6 Orianna also, when neither of those players were level 6, got to be a little bit careful because she can definitely sombrero you under a turret, maybe turn things around quite literally. So, got to be careful, but still nice to see some pressure forcing out that flash.
Yeah, now Sky Sapphire lurking around the mid lane as well. The reason that we saw is that him going in so quickly there is because the initiation tool for Timmy was completely gone. The slingshot was burned. He knew that the jungler would just be walking away, so he walked right up.
Oh, and now last guy's going to be a little bit of a rough spot. Forced back underneath.
Oh, teleports.
Sky Sapphire doing the damage, but like you said, teleport coming in.
Oh.
Could change that situation. JC Prestige completes his. Judgment with the cancel is going to stay in that top lane.
That's actually really good for Judgment. If I'm recalling correctly, the teleport does go on a bit shorter of a cooldown when you cancel it yourself, but also, even without considering that, Judgment is going to get quite a lot of time up here without JC Prestige really pressuring him. He's going to be able to build up a bit more CS, and now that lane is pushing in towards him, he doesn't have to worry about much of anything.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 2-minute difference there between the teleport timings, so Judgment will have his up faster just because he did not commit to that. JC Prestige probably should have gauged the situation a little bit better and seen that it's not necessary for him to be there. Either way, he's back up in the top lane, and with that Tiamat completed, he's actually doing a really great job there against Judgment. Now back to the bottom lane, Timmy, to channel that elastic slingshot right on a ward, so wisely will not complete that one either.
Yeah, not quite finding the opening. He will not go all in and just launch himself in for no reason. He doesn't know that he's been revealed, so he doesn't want to reveal himself. Yeah, he's really trying hard to get this. Just not going to be able to do it. He hasn't sniffed out that there is a ward there yet, and they don't have any tools to get rid of it, so he just has to give up on that gank.
Tunneling up towards the top lane, not going to have success there. Either. So I gotta say, remarkably though, after the first blood did go down early on, haven't really seen a whole lot of either one of these junglers. They've both been trying really hard, but have not been able to make it happen just yet.
Yeah, not really past that first blood from Sky Sapphire, at the very least. They definitely, I feel like either one of these junglers needs to be trying to look for a successful gank, and to their credit, they definitely are. Yeah, they haven't been able to do it. They've both kind of fizzled out in the last few minutes, like you said, but they are making attempts, and similarly to the point that I made in game 1 with Timmy, not wasting a ton of time on a gank that just wasn't going to work out under any circumstances. That's the same situation here, and Sky Sapphire is even doing the same thing. They're just both trying to be as efficient as they can, even if these ganks don't work out for them. Ooh, nice cancel into Prestige there. It's gonna cost him like about 8 seconds or so whenever he starts that recall again. Rice Fox!
Oh my god, bottom lane, there's a big engage suppression, forcing the Flash and the Summoner heal out to get Rice Fox out alive. Great initiation there, pulling the trigger and forcing out those double Summoners.
Yeah, and didn't burn Flash or anything to get that. Just caught the Zyra off guard. Now Sky Sapphire looking for a gank. Uh-oh.
Yeah, but right on time, Timmy there to support Sky Sapphire onto the AD carry in the back line, but going to be his AD carry going down first. Asian Devil out of there. Some kid trying to escape, but he will. There's a Flash Force out there on Incarnate, but here comes Timmy, and there he goes.
Judgment getting the teleport down, taking advantage of that. Maybe not quite over yet. No, I think that'll be it. The Bloblets are slain as this turret is now pressured. Georgia Tech may be looking for more. I don't think they really should, but Judgment really wanted to go for it.
Yeah, he was deep behind that turret, really putting the pressure on, but nothing really going to come off of that, even though some kid and Incarnate were both pretty low. We asked during the break, I asked Incarnate how he came up with his name, and he said it was a long story, but that essentially it was one that he came up with when he was a kid, and it's always available, so gotta love the uniqueness. If I go on Twitter, I'm like, oh, Winter's been talking about Rapid today. Well, it's not quite as easy to look for that kind of stuff. So gotta love the uniqueness there.
Yeah, definitely. There are definitely some interesting stories out there around some of the more interesting names, regardless of where you look, really. I want to say just in the League scene, but that's not nearly true.
Yeah. Where did you come up with Blaster Boy from?
I was a big Star Wars fan growing up, and the pistols in at least one of the Star Wars games I played was called a blaster. And that was like, I don't know how I came up with it exactly, but that was what I based it off of for that game in the multiplayer mode. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've stuck with it since. It's unfortunately not quite as unique nor so easy to find, not claimed beforehand, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you're a kid and you're thinking of like names to name yourself, your thought process is not incredibly unique. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I like blasters, and I'm a boys. You just like put them together. It's like, exactly. Oh well, this is what I'm thinking of. Like for me, it's like, well, I just like fast stuff, right? So it's not really like a complex thought process. It's just like, oh well, this is that thing, and then later on, you unfortunately find out that like your name is like not incredibly marketable, and it's like, well, now I have to like rethink everything. But either way, we both kind of lucked out. We found our calling as far as our names going. Who knows? Maybe Incarnate is like the name of the next spam of the future, and everybody knows it and uses it ubiquitously. Either way, names are cool and stuff. If you guys want to post your how I got my name stories or tweet them at either one of us so that we can feel a little bit more commiserative with you, then definitely do go let us know about that. It's always cool to think about that, and I only talk about this for so long because there's actually not that much going on at this point in the game. Just laners laning, farmers farming.
That's going to change real quick, though, down bottom.
Yeah, it is. Zach flying in there. We'll get the knock up there and that Courage the Colossus. Missed there on the Varus ult, but immediate suppression on Sky Sapphire. He tries to get in there. We'll get the untunnel there onto Incarnate. A lot of damage being put down, but it's going to prompt out the exhaust. Big blow up there as, oh my god, that's going to be such a sick follow-up. UVA dropped 3, and it's Georgia Tech that just crushed through that bottom lane, or opposite teams. It's UVA that crushed through the bottom lane as Georgia Tech lose 3.
Yeah, just a really brutal chain of events there from UVA. The teleport, it just existed for Prestige there. He got it off. He showed up. Unfortunately, didn't get a ton of assists there, but the numbers really do help you out in the end. Prevents any silly business from another person walking up from the side of Georgia Tech. Now, they get the bot turret. They get their second of the game, in fact, and they get this dragon as well. This is a huge snowball for UVA all of a sudden. This is their first early lead of the series, and they're looking like a completely different team.
Yeah, just using that momentum from game number 2, and you can really see it paying off. Timmy just not afraid to go in. He was actually really integral in getting in there, being the big initiator, and allowing the rest of his team to follow up, and now he might actually have a little bit more to say. Shockwave there. Timmy's taking a lot of damage, and he will have to be careful, almost going down.
Yeah, not quite able to finish him off there, and fortunately enough for UVA, Timmy has done just about all the work that he can on that recall, so he was pretty much set to go ahead and take that leave anyway. And he will be able to go back to base, heal up cleanly, very close to a kill for Georgia Tech, but I like that they didn't overcommit for that either. Is that him could have easily flashed forward and attempted to get the kill if he wanted to. He was right there in the thick of it, but he decided against it, and honestly, they got a little bit extra damage on the turret, but they didn't risk anything. They didn't put anything. They didn't take any unnecessary steps. They just kind of pushed someone out, kind of unfortunate, but take what you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. For Georgia Tech now, they find themselves in an interesting position. It's like, hey, I don't actually know what it's like to be behind early game yet, because they have been so solid for so far, but now we're going to have to see a little bit of a comeback from them. And I mean, they were unable to come back after those big deficits in the mid game in game 2, so we'll have to see if they can do it this time around. And I mean, certainly Timmy really showing up on that comfort pick for him, that Zach. Lord Kaiser looking pretty good on the Ari. The big shaky point was the big point of strength for Georgia Tech. Asian Devil, his Ashe looked so good in the last game, but his Jhin just not paying off.
Yeah, not quite yet able to make all that much happen. It's really difficult to deal with this Varus Malzahar lane because the Varus is just going to sit so far back, and I mean, with Malzahar's passive, good luck getting too much done with him, but there's a dive!
Huge prediction by Timmy. He's going deep now on the Asian Devil there as well. He's going to find out one, but there's his first kill. Got two, and a huge shockwave, though, literally turning that fight around. It's going to be a double coming back for Is That Him? And this is a most even fight we've seen all game long, but in the end, it's going to be a 2-for-3 Georgia Tech. Win out in the end.
That shockwave completely changed the course of that fight. What an incredible play from Is That Him? He was in a really awkward position when you take the whole fight into consideration, but it ended up being perfect. No one was hitting him hardly at all, and he was just close enough to get a beautiful, beautiful shockwave, punish UVA for just running past the Orianna a little bit, and now Georgia Tech is able to fill in that gold gap as they make a huge turn in that fight. Now, only actually 100 gold in the lead for them. Still a turret down, though.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess they're just listening to us cast and answering our questions, saying, hey, you know, we might be down, but we are definitely not out. Is That Him picks up a double kill off of a super sick shockwave. It's like if you had to pick optimal ball positioning there in that last fight. It's like, well, that's basically about as perfect an option as you can have.
Really?
Him made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, he only got 2 kills. He got 2 kills from it. He hit 3 with it. That really almost couldn't have been better with the Zac in the backline. There was only one other target that he was really missing there. Just beautiful play in the end, and it pans out really, really well for Georgia Tech. We're actually going to see the first Rift Herald of this series. It looks most likely handed off to JC Prestige to try to boost this Fiora a little bit ahead and get her rolling versus this Maokai, but ooh.
Guy Sapphire might try to get something off of this, at least trying to deny that glimpse of the void, but he's not going to. It goes on to JC Prestige. Sky Sapphire's out of there. The Grand Challenge has been issued, and it's going to pass there, so everybody just healing back up there. Flashed away from that side, that shockwave coming out, and that's going to be me clicking past in the timeline. So I didn't actually catch the end of that fight, but it looks like that was about it.
Yeah, not a ton coming out of that in the end. 3 kills actually in total. Over the Rift Herald, not something you see in every game. On his own, just straight up. The Rift Herald at all is an oddity.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a luxury objective. Asian Devil tried to get in there and support him with a curtain call, but I mean, that's just not an objective I've seen fought over and tried to be stolen before. So, I mean, he tried for it, so I guess credit where credit's due, but now that really evens things up. There's, you know, about 500 gold difference between these two teams, so yikes. This is the closest match of all that we've seen, Blaster Boy, and I guess if you had to come to a deciding game number 3, it's a good match to have be the closest so far.
Oh yeah, definitely, and now the next point of contention is coming up very, very soon. 30 seconds on the Dragon, and we hop over to pit real quick. We see it's an Ocean Drake, so definitely not the best one that can spawn right now, but still very good nonetheless. It's good to just stack those elemental drakes up anyway, and Georgia Tech's certainly not going to go quietly into the night and just kind of leave that to UVA or anything. They want to fight for it themselves. There's a red buff Fiora with Rift Herald up top. Interestingly enough, that's going to be kind of scary for Judgment to deal with. He'll have to play careful.
Oh yeah, Judgment just absolutely cannot fight that Fiora. At least it doesn't seem like he's willing to. So staying back, playing a little bit more passively, and it's just something Maokai can do. Very diversive, diverse. Yeah, I'm not sure what diversive is. It's not a word that I know. So yeah, he's up there chilling. The rest of the team kind of fighting around this dragon pit. Doesn't seem like either one really able to make headway. So we'll see who's the first to move. What do you think about like the setup here? Is that going to be better for Georgia Tech or UVA?
Well, I feel like UVA is really just going to get exactly what they want if they're set up near the pit and Georgia Tech has to walk in. The Zac may not be the most effective, but throwing in an Ari Charm, Chain of Corruption, or catching someone with the Nethergrass as they walk up is pretty much a perfect situation for UVA, honestly. It's going to be a very clean engage, even if it's not technically textbook perfect for them. It's definitely going to be more than enough for them to kick off a fight, but they're just as comfortable with letting Georgia Tech really get in there and starting the fight off themselves with this Zac initiation that isn't so useful in the other, if the sides are flipped, as I just touched on before. Oh, Intercarno.
Yeah, we're waiting on seeing exactly what he can get done. He's going to get initiated on this big triple knockout. Some kid, great AD carry positioning in the back there, but he's going to miss his ult there in the end. Stranglethorn is going down and forcing flashes out. Timmy out of the fight. That's going to be a win for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they just stood safe enough, but Timmy's not done. He wants a slingshot in.
He's going for the steal here, but will he go for it? Oh, he actually tries to do the cute Zac trick where you jump over the pit and get the smite down even still, but not able to get the steal, and that Ocean Drake will go to Georgia Tech. Yeah, it was a few seconds behind there, but now we are back up to live. I was like, wait a second.
Oh, some kid.
Yeah, he's going to get locked up there, forcing the flash immediately. Now trying to run away from Sky Sapphire. He's going to get some help from Last Kaiser. So glad to see that we're all back up to speed, or at least that I am. And both teams seem to be on the same page. But, man, I don't even know who to give the advantage to. This is so close, Blaster Boy.
Honestly, these fights are really just going to come down to how well either one of these team plays. If the Shockwave is really good from Is That Him, then that pretty much automatically goes into Georgia Tech's favor if he hits the right targets. And man, with only one tank on the side of UVA, there are a lot of really good targets for this Shockwave. But then again, on the other side, if they get the initiation, if UVA gets the initiation that they're really looking for and they pick off one or two of these carries, then that's a lot of what Georgia Tech has. That's pretty much it. If the Shockwave is unused or isn't good enough, rather, then Georgia Tech just kind of runs out of a lot of their big tools.
Very true. You're gonna have to buy one of those giant-sized toolboxes because it holds the big tools they need. I don't know. So one of my my hobbies growing up was like building like miniature stuff. So like ships and bottles,
cool.
Doll houses, stuff like that. And they actually have these whole stores that you can go to. And so I built this house with a garage. This is a really obscure analogy, but I had to go buy a dollhouse-sized toolbox along with it. It was like the tiniest toolbox ever, and you could actually like open it up, had like tiny tools inside too. I was like, wow, this serves zero purpose on the planet Earth. How is this thing? And yet here, also not necessary because they need the big-sized toolbox to pull the big tools out of to use them to get the advantages. There you go. There's your long-winded analogy for the day.
Beautiful.
There's nothing else happening, Blaster Boy.
I mean, I couldn't see a better analogy for that point. No, but
there you go. Ooh, Incarnative. Not a great place for him to be. Immediate flash over the wall. Will anybody follow past him? He gets sniped out there. The Stranglethorns, or the Grasping Roots, rather. Same idea. Take him out at long range. Oh my god. Famous last words. So many supports. I was just warding, and he's going to pay for it.
I feel like Georgia Tech should be looking mid here. They burn the teleport from Judgment to go down bottom, but they just kind of need to run down mid here. I field. This is a big opening from UVA, and this is really the only lane Georgia Tech can comfortably push. But they're going to decide against it either way, and they're just going to look for what is hopefully a bit of vision control for themselves around this Baron pit. And there's really not much left for UVA around here. Only 2 wards. They're kind of in awkward positions, and they're about half gone already. Georgia Tech's having far superior vision control here along, on the back of that pick of Ender Carvine. Oh man, what did I just say?
I'm trying to hear it, and I'm like, I'm sure those were words eventually. I'm guessing you were trying to say Ender Carniv, but
yeah, that's it.
It doesn't really just like roll off the tongue, you know?
We got there. We got there with a little bit of help. We made it.
you know what he means. It's all, like, there's no other word that sounds like that, so that's the only word it can be. Process of elimination, you know.
Oh, Zach!
Here comes Zach jumping in. He will bounce Jin out of his ultimate, but it's actually the first kill of the fight going to Last Kaiser. These guys have fire there in the back with Timmy flashing over. He's gonna get crit down. Asian Devil kiting out. He's gonna get the extra move speed to fall back. In the meantime, Last Kaiser's in a little bit of a rust spot with Judgment sitting right on top of him. He's just gonna pop him with the ultimate, and Judgment will finally pick up that kill. Timmy trying to get back into the fight, but it looks like it's all JC Prestige. There's the grand challenge, trying to pop the rest of that, but actually no, going in for the kill. Asian Devil's gonna get taken out. His our Timmy jumps back in. It's gonna be a 2-on-1 there, but Judgment is so strong at this point. He's trying to get back in there. The heal's coming back forward, but there's too much damage there. It's gonna be a double for IR Timmy's. They take out Judgment and pick up the ace for UVA.
That fight was absolutely insane, but it comes down in the end for UVA. Somebody had to win it. It was really close to going either way the entire time. But now, is that him? He might have something to say about it. He has flash. Shockwave available.
Oh,
pull the trigger.
Buddy. Here comes the tunnel in, a knockup, but he's going to have huge shockwave, but it gets reposted. JC Prestige survives, and so does Timmy Ender Carniv. Not so lucky, but still incredible that JC Prestige and Timmy make it out alive.
What is going on in this game? Now is that him? Almost caught out by the Last Kaiser. Sky Sapphire going in as well, looking for some aggression. Not going to be able to find an opening, however. And all of a sudden, this game is all over the place, but in all of that chaos, the dragon has spawned, and it is a Mountain Drake for... up for the taking for whoever really wants it. And it looks like it might be Georgia Tech. Timmy is on his way, though. He knows that it's spawned, and he can go for the similar smite to last time. Just needs to time it a little bit better. No vision.
And they are delaying this, so Georgia Tech will not allow Timmy as easy of an entrance.
Slingshot down.
His jump. Yeah, and then no slingshot, just waiting there. So even something that you guys watching, if you're looking to gain something from pro play, from watching these teams, just say, hey, wait a second, wait out things like that elastic slingshot, and it just makes it infinitely easier for Georgia Tech to take down their second dragon of the game.
Oh no, JC Prestige.
Okay, well that's still a little bit too far for it. Has an interesting riposte idea on the timing, tries to get the extra move speed from his ultimate to walk away from that, but the riposte there, not enough, and he will go down in the end. UVA, they had that big team fight win, it looked impressive, but now they just keep walking in single file and losing member after member.
Oh, Rice Fox, no!
Okay, right as I say that for UVA, Georgia Tech winds up getting their support picked off for the same thing, just warding.
Oh, here we go, curtain call.
That violin kind of threw me off. There's the shockwave, but it will be missed. Flash away there, but IR Timmy getting the big bounce in. Is that him going down? Some kid taking him out there and in the back line into Cardiff. He's going to find the same fate he met earlier. He will go down there. It looks like UVA is still comfortable to fight this. Timmy, a big tank up in the front line, but Judgment, the big tank in the back. And he's all over some kid. Pops him out there at the end. It's a double there for Judgment. Can he stay alive there long enough? He does get the twisted miss. Last Kaiser, the auto attack coming in. Asian Devil dishing out the deeps from the back line. IR Timmy does have a Guardian Angel and his passive. He'll need all that he can to stay alive, and he will. So that's going to be a 1-for-3 exchange in the end, but still Georgia Tech firing back.
firing back, but still at a bit of a deficit. Nothing really large enough to be relevant at this point, though. It may as well be dead even. And this game is absolutely crazy. And all of this gold lead and all of these fights and objectives that we're seeing being attempted and taken by both of these teams, Georgia Tech still has only taken 1 turret. And UVA has still only taken 3. The gold values are so high and this game is going for so long without very many turrets taken that as soon as somebody gets something like the Baron or the Elder Dragon, which I believe is not quite spawning next, it's actually another Mountain Drake coming up, but as soon as one of those big objectives is taken, as soon as an opening is found, there's just going to be a massive influx of gold all of a sudden. There's so much free gold across the map. 11 turrets in total, and there's still 8 more for UVA and 10 for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at just how even this game is, it's a little bit crazy. You got almost identical gold, identical kills, only 1 dragon difference between both sides. And when you look at even some of the lanes, very even scores from the top laners, very even scores from like 80 carries, and even no individual member more than 2 kills away from his counterpart, unless you count the supports. And that's not quite as big of an impact as you would expect, but I mean, it does mean a lot for that Leandri's Torment to be completed by Rice Fox. But on the other side, Rylai is completed there for Cardiff.
Sky Sapphire.
Here we go. Sky Sapphire getting caught out there. Huge shields, though. He does get out thanks to that Courage of the Colossus. Here comes the curtain call, trying to snipe off some kid. He will actually go down there. Is that him? Timmy trying to be a big force in the back line, but he's actually just not dishing out very much damage at all. And now the rest of the team trying to beset him. Looks like he will finally be falling. There's his passive pop. Those little bloblets crawl, little bloblets crawl. Wait, what? Oh my God! What? He actually survived that.
Oh, that was a bit of a bug there. Timmy was stuck in the animation from his E. When he lands with his E, he goes into a little puddle, and he was walking around hitting people in that puddle while split into bloblets.
Yeah, I was like, okay, the bloblets are crawling, and then he respawns with like basically full health. I'm like, what? Wait a sec.
That was really weird. You got a pause coming through.
I've never seen that before, so I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, so the problem here is with Zach is that he's stuck in the animation between reviving and dying. So he should die here. So they're going to resume, and they're going to be allowed to kill him off. He will finally die there, and I think that is actually very fair.
Yeah, he should have 100% died in those bloblets there. Though between an Orianna and a Zyra with Leandri's there, like those bloblets were as good as dead, and just, what a weird
and all of a sudden
situation.
He's like killing people, running around. But either way, the result at the end is as it should be. Timmy gets caught out there, goes down. Georgia Tech with the advantage.
Yeah, and they have a little bit of vision control around here. There's not really a lot of vision left for either of these teams. They're just butting heads constantly. One team goes in and sets up vision. The other team comes in and sweeps it out. But Georgia Tech, they are in the driver's seat right here, right now. And with that jungler dead, they're going to get this Baron very cleanly.
Yeah, they certainly will. Baron going down. It's Georgia Tech to come out on top, and we'll use that empowered recall. Head back to base. So this actually reminds me a lot, Blaster Boy, of game number 1, where we do see Georgia Tech in the driver's seat, taking these big objectives, winning fights, but the scoreline a lot more even than in that situation. Still only 2,000 gold separating both teams.
Yeah, and this is a very strange situation between both of these teams in the end, because in game 1, like you said, we did see Georgia Tech in the driver's seat. They were in the driver's seat, though, with a much larger lead. This time they're in the driver's seat with no lead, apparently. They're just the ones calling the shots anyway. UVA is still kind of bending to Georgia Tech's will, even in situations where they don't really have to. They have the initiation comp, and Georgia Tech is still able to call the shots here. Now there is a gold lead. It's only... well, now it's 3,000 gold due to that turret going down, and this is the Baron take into that big influx of money that I was talking about before. We're going to see that unfold for Georgia Tech. And they have decent vision control in the red side jungle here. We could see a fight around this turret or the inhibitor Timmy way out in the distance, but that elastic slingshot will get him right into the mix.
All right, we'll see if his engagement...
Here we go.
The secret here, he's going to be channeling up that slingshot, but will not go for it. And in the end, looks like this is just going to be a free turret as UT take it down, or University of Georgia Institute of Technology. There we go.
You got there.
Well, you call it Georgia Tech, but it's actually not just Georgia Tech. It's if I remember, Georgia Institute of Technology. So there's actually no university, but it is an institute, and they leave the I out. How underrepresented do you think that I sounds? Like, oh my god, too complicated. Like, I mean, I went to many schools, and they were all just named exactly based on their name, but turns out there's a secret hidden institute in Georgia that apparently nobody talks about.
It's a bit of a conspiracy.
Well, actually, on the other side, University of Virginia actually very well known for their like secret societies on campus. They've got like 5 of them. And they're all like super secret, like handshakes, meeting places, all kinds of craziness. Although my question is always, if people know about your secret society, is it really secret though? Like somebody needs to.
Yeah, I think that definition needs a bit of cleaning up potentially.
Well, either way, I actually didn't know about them until I started researching these teams, so maybe they were doing a pretty good job about keeping them secret from me, at least.
Nonetheless, though, regardless of the hidden histories potentially of these teams and of these schools, here's an engage! Oh no!
Hugest charm there, and Kaiser blows up. Is that him? No shockwave for this fight, but Kaiser dives too deep and gets taken out there. In the backline, some kid trying to stay safe there. In the end, will flash back away, and he'll stay alive. Sky Sapphire, he's going to be the one to have his Guardian Angel pop to try to get out, but doesn't look like he will actually be able to. Very tanky. Smites for healing, but does go down there into Carniv. They want to take him out, and in the end, it's a 1-for-5 exchange. Huge team fight win for UVA.
And a big blind spot there for Georgia Tech. They didn't expect Last Kaiser to just disappear into the shadows and pop out on their side of that fight. Completely caught Is That Him off guard and just instantly blew him up. Perfectly timed with Timmy, and that's something we saw happen last game as well, where Timmy ganked the mid lane, and Last Kaiser, or in game 1 rather, actually, with the Syndra from Last Kaiser, perfectly timing the stun with the initiation from Timmy. The synergy between these two players is incredible, and we see it pay dividends there again. UVA get a mid tier 3 and the inhib in addition to the top tier 2 as well. So a sudden influx of gold for them now as well, as they also break the base.
Wow. All right. So yeah, this game's swinging right back and forth. First Baron goes to GT. First inhibitor goes to UVA. So really just trading things right back. And you look at the gold count, literally identical gold count, Blaster Boy. Identical kills. Oh my god. I'm doing that thing like you see on Twitter where people put claps in between every word. So sick.
I mean, we couldn't have asked for a closer game than this. You don't see many games where teams are tied up at 37 minutes within 100 gold. After one team gets a Baron, there's a 2-dragon advantage for one team, and there's a 2-turret advantage for the other. Like, this is just crazy. With the initiation, UVA, they're looking for another one, with Timmy out in the shadows again, just looming around the corner, but now he's going to be on a ward of Georgia Tech. He's got to be careful where he decides to do this from, because that will make or break this fight.
I'm just a little bit overwhelmed by everything. Goodness coming our way, Blaster Boy. It's nice to know that we are not the only people who have chosen the only correct thing to do with our morning here. Well, I guess it's morning for me. I guess it's evening elsewhere in the world. So wherever you are in the right place. If you're here watching CSL, I want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging out. Always cool to get to witness games like this that are actually just so sick from both sides. I know a lot of times it can be a little bit one-sided. Maybe if one team is like so much better. We've had a lot of 2-0s in CSL this season, but this game just absolutely delivering. It's the best mailman ever. Always delivers. All right, so now we have bottom lane Judgment maybe getting caught out. Malzahar is coming around the corner as he comes, but actually, wow, committing the ultimate there. Timmy, I guess it's on a pretty low cooldown, but I mean, there's really just no more follow-up. Here comes Last Kaiser around the side, but that Maokai is super tanky. You definitely don't want to engage on him when the rest of his team is there to back him up.
Well, now this engage from Timmy is just going to be really lacking. He can't even land the slingshot onto Judgment, and now a lot of the members of Georgia Tech are here. Nope, never mind. They have to pull back and deal with the Fiora. This is a split push strategy from UVA. I still don't really agree with the spending of the Let's Bounce, but man, they're executing this pretty well. They've got the mid inhib down as well, so this is going to be a 2 or 3-way split for Georgia Tech. They've got to make the initiation happen here, but it's really hard for this comp. Their initiation is so short-ranged.
Yeah, and to their credit, UVA are doing such a good job of going forward, pulling back, not overextending, allowing the split push Fiora to actually just do what it's designed to, keep the pressure on the top side of the map, and keep their push alive down bottom. Now Baron's back up again, so at any point they could just opt to retreat and try to go back in for that. But it seems like they are pretty committed to making this bottom push happen.
Yeah, and I mean Elder in 30 as well. Like that's going to be a very large point of contention, I feel, for UVA, only because they want to keep it away from Georgia Tech. Because if Georgia Tech gets it, then not only do they get that 3 elemental stack true damage burn, which is 45 base actually, plus 45 per elemental stack, if I'm recalling correctly, of true damage. But they also get the enhancement on those 2 Mountain Drakes that they have. So their pushing is just going to be absolutely ridiculous if they can get a push going off of that. And they're just going to give up the Elder Drake. Georgia Tech needs to make a big decision here. They need to do something with their time. Vision control around Baron is really the best they can hope for right now. And they're barely going to get that.
Yeah, so they're not even going to be able to start that Baron. Elder Drake now in UVA's hands. Maokai out of position way towards the back. They get engaged on. Okay, no shockwave there. Last Kaiser able to disengage. Sky Sapphire taking a ton of damage. We'll have his Guardian Angel pop before this fight really even starts there. Trying to kite back to the back. There's a big knockup as Judgment goes in. Suppression there onto Is That Him. Kiting backwards to the back of the fight. But it's going to be a blow up there onto JC Prestige. He's out of there. Last Kaiser down as well. That's going to be a weakened position there. Now IR Timmy gets his Guardian Angel pop there. We'll see if they can kill him this time. Okay, he does actually die when he's supposed to. Here come the Bloblets. It looks like they will finally get taken out just at the last second. Asian Devil there to pick up the kill, and that's a 3-for-0 exchange. Georgia Tech come out on top against a team with an Elder Dragon.
Yeah, but they gotta be careful here. Georgia Tech has to respect some kid and... Oh man, can I get it out this time? Ender Carniv. There we go. I did it. They gotta respect that split push with the Elder Drake, though. They're just going to rip through minions, but it doesn't even matter. Judgment is tanky enough to deter them, and that will be the Baron over to Georgia Tech once again.
Wow, second Baron of the game, Blaster Boy, going over to Georgia Tech, and for UVA, it felt like, I mean, they had everything in their favor at the beginning of that fight. What went wrong?
Really, what ended up going wrong was not being able to finish off Is That Him. JC ended up flanking around down the river and flashing into the fight and pretty much getting immediately blown up. As soon as that kill went down, Is That Him suddenly had a lot more mana to work with due to that Morello Nomicon refunding 30% of his maxed mana on a kill or assist. So suddenly he went from having like 100 or so mana, maybe 2 spells, to suddenly having like 300-400 mana, being able to contribute to that fight again in spite of the shockwave going down, and the tanks just ended up being able to do enough work. Asian Devil and Rice Fox as well is contributing enough to that fight in spite of the shockwave being whiffed. Now, Georgia Tech again in the driver's seat. Elder Drake, I believe, just wore off there. No, not quite. Very, very close, though. It's not going to last but a few seconds longer.
Well, yeah, Mark of the Elder Dragon will now be depleting. There it goes. So now no more advantages here for UVA, and it's going to swing wildly into Georgia Tech's favor. Now, Georgia Tech not having a split pusher this time around means that they are just committing to pushing down this turret. They got Baron buff empowered minions. They're pushing on in, and they also have that Zrot portal at their base, continually pushing that bottom side. So that's basically kind of serving the same purpose, getting that lane pushing in their favor.
Yeah, that's a massive wave that's going to crash into the inhibitor turret pretty soon and only get larger. I believe it's going to grow by at least one more wave before it gets to the inhib turret, maybe even two. It's already an absolutely huge wave, and that's going to have to be something that UVA deals with. Timmy taking a bit of poke in the front line.
Yeah, a lot of lockdown there. Here comes the curtain call. Asian double down to half HP from getting poked out, and that is going to push UVA off of the second tier turret. It will go down, and that's the 6th turret of the game going down to UVA, or going down to Georgia Tech. UVA actually still ahead in turrets, which is really weird to talk about just how even this game is and how back and forth it's gone.
Yeah, and again, with that Baron, Georgia Tech is able to take a few more turrets and just build up that lead ever so slightly more. Only at 3K. It virtually doesn't even matter at this point because most people are nearing 6 items anyway. I mean, if we go down the line and we look through, just about everyone in the game is at 5 items and an ingredient at least for their final item. We see the Seeker's Arm Guard on Is That Him. We've got the Hex Drinker on Sky Sapphire. Judgment is actually completely done. He just has way more CS than anyone else in the game really does. So he's able to pick that up a little bit earlier. Last Kaiser will be looking for his 6th item very soon as well, which seems to be looking like an Abyssal. So he will be significantly tankier to that Zyra and Orianna combo, and also just be dealing quite a lot more damage with that MR shred.
And this is the end game fantasy that Riot always likes to talk about, allowing players to realize when you get all 6 of your items, you're just walking around like a badass, killing everything in your wake. Although it turns out that's not quite, it's a little bit easier said than done. You do actually have to make that happen. And here comes the lockdown.
We go.
Dive into the backline there by JR Timmy, or IR Timmy. Shockwave, where's it at? Still looking for it to be thrown out. There it is, but it's not in time. It doesn't get a chance to finish. Timmy just going deep over and over again, and this is going to be a whitewash there as Georgia Tech get taken out. Almost everyone. Okay, there's the revive there from Judgment. He's actually going to try to turn things back around there, but look at Ferris go. Some kid coming back and picking up that kill. In the end, it's an ace for University of Virginia.
And they have a fantastic push available to them here in the mid lane. JC Prestige is just going to teleport up towards the top side, run it down mid, going to look for that inhib, while the rest of his team grabs a wave, and this could very well be the game. It's still 20 seconds. It's going to be very close. Is That Him will very likely respawn if UVA tries to go for the finishing push here, and if there's a good shockwave, that could end it for Georgia Tech because they're all going to respawn, and that could be 3 or 4 members down very quickly for UVA. They gotta play careful.
Yeah, Timmy's tanking up that turret too, so he'll be low when the members respawn. Is that him coming up? But it looks like they just might not be up in time. There's the flash, the shockwave immediately blows some kid apart. There's a lot of damage here, but it's just not enough with the exhaust coming in. The Nexus will fall. And in the end, it is University of Virginia taking a 2-1 victory, 24-24, and only 400 gold ahead of their opponents. Georgia Tech fall, and gotta say, the most even best of 3 I have seen ever casting CSL comes to a conclusion with UVA on top.
What an absolutely stellar series, and every single one of those games, there's so much that we could talk about with each one, but this one was really it was a spiral of really good plays and a few kind of and a few mistakes here and there from both these teams. Neither of these teams played incredibly flawlessly, close to flawlessly or cleanly, but they both delivered one heck of a match. Wow.
Yeah, that's about all I can say. WOW analysis, really just awesome to see. Such a back and forth game, strengths from both teams being realized. You had comebacks, 2 Barons there for Georgia Tech. They still didn't win. You had Elder Dragon taken by UVA, and then they lost it all. So Wow, it doesn't get a whole lot closer than that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this broadcast of the ULoL Campus Series. Riot's been broadcasting ULoL this season on collegiate or college LOL. If you guys want to check that out, it was actually featured and highlighted on the front page of the client earlier on today. So, I mean, Collegiate League of Legends is a big deal. So you guys are in the right place to witness it. If you guys want to keep up with more collegiate gaming action, you can head on over to cstarleague.com. You can find out how to participate for your school and represent them in any number of esports out there. Just announced some stuff coming up with Drop Zone. There's Collegiate Madden coming out there too, if that's more your style. Find out more information by heading over to cstarleague.com to check that out. And of course, if you guys have any thoughts about tonight's games, let us know by heading on over to Twitter and tweeting at CStarLeague or CSLLOL and share your thoughts there. And of course, if you have any feedback for us as casters, we'd love to hear what you have to say. You can follow us on Twitter at RapidCasting and at BlasterBoyLOL if you'd like to share some of your thoughts with us about tonight's games. Do you have any final thoughts, Blaster Boy?
Oh man, I've got a lot of thoughts, but there's not enough time in the day to get through all the thoughts about all of those games. Those were just fantastic performances, even if you could say that the games were not very clean or not very high level or whatever. They were really freaking exciting. I really enjoyed them. There were plenty of fantastic plays from both of these teams, and they delivered. They both 2-0 their previous matches, so they absolutely delivered on the performances that we were expecting looking at those scorelines so far.
Wow, yeah, absolutely did deliver. Well, that's not all of our action left for today. If you guys like League of Legends, you're in luck. We'll have which is actually Utah, versus Boulder coming up next. It's going to be 10 more minutes, then we'll have our next collegiate League of Legends game coming your way right here on twitch.tv/StarLeague. So I'm going to head on out of here, but before I do, I want to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. That's Band Gaming, Twitch, and Aces for coming back and partnering with us for this CSL season. Big thanks to them, and of course, big thanks to all of you who came out and joined us for tonight's broadcast. That's going to do it for our day today. So on behalf of myself, Blaster Boy, all of us here at the CSL, I'd like to thank you all for watching and hope you all will stick around for Utah versus Boulder coming up next.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.